Welcome, everyone. My name is Sean Jones, and I'm the CEO of the iNetrapreneur Network, the leading network for entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, speakers, solo, and couplepreneurs. Today, I have with me Dr. Joe Blake, owner and founder of Blake Media. He is all about financial literacy from children to seniors and everyone in between. He is an international best-selling author. He has his own radio show, and he's here today to talk to you about financial literacy. Dr. Joe, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate being here.
So, Dr. Joe, I'm going to dive right into this with you. Financial literacy is so important, but yet it seems to be the number one key that is missing in schools today. They teach us math, reading, writing, and arithmetic, but they don't teach you the basic foundation of what is financial literacy. How does it impact your life and the steps that you can do to start planning early instead of waiting till you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s? What is your perspective?
Well, I think it begins with a fundamental understanding of what financial literacy is. What I've found is that when people say financial literacy, they go back to the basics of, okay, that means understanding a checking account, savings account, and things of that nature. What they miss in that, because they've been teaching savings account, checking account, balancing your checkbook, they've been teaching that all along, but they have to go back to the understanding of the full foundation of what finances is all about. And one of the fundamental things that I defined in my book is what financial literacy is, and that's understanding what gaining understanding of what the finances is, getting those concepts, and then once you get those concepts, make use of those concepts as a tool. So it's basically understanding what financial concepts are available, and then taking action on it. So it's not only just understanding about checking and savings, but there's more things that are into it. Once you understand what those financial actions are, then you got to take action on it, which includes everything.
When you mention the different areas of financial literacy, give us some, share with us what are the three main areas, the three components that make up financial literacy?
The three main components that I've defined in my book are knowledge, action, and behaviors. And the big part of that comes at the end of the behaviors, because a lot of the actions that we take within our financial plans are based on behavior. And when you look at it, a lot of times we make our purchases based on how we feel. We may look at some ladies, they look at a dress. Oh, I like that dress. And then they'll buy that dress because they like it, but they'll back it up. They'll buy it based on emotions, but they'll back it up based on logic. Oh, I love that dress. But it costs $100, $100 for that dress. And then they'll start looking at their budget and based on what they have, buy that dress from that standpoint. But the dress is still $100, but they logically work it out to get that dress. Same thing with men. They may see a fishing rod, or they may see a car that they want. But the car, they like it, but they'll work it out in their mind. They get it within their budget. Nothing wrong with that. You just have to understand that's how we think emotionally, and just have to understand we have to figure out what works in our, financially. But if you understand that's how you're operating, you have to understand how to define it in your life.
Mm-hmm. Now, you work with youth, and you also work obviously with single individuals and married couples. What do you see are some of the trends working with married couples to go through financial literacy? What are some areas that you find married couples have challenges, and how do you bridge those challenges so they can both work together? Because, married couples, they have different spending habits or viewpoints or preferences. What are some things that you do to guide your married couples?
Married couples, what I tend to do is identify what they have, because some families operate from a budget, and then there's some that actually operate from a spending pattern. And that goes back to the beginning question that you mentioned to me was, how do people operate? So one of my research questions, I asked families, what would you do with $100,000, and this for Christians, after you gave your tithes and offering? So if you think about it, if you had 100 grand, what would you do with it? So some people would say, okay, well, I'll start doing this, that, and the other. Well, if you gave me, okay, I'll take 20% here, 20% there, that means you operate from a budget. But if you said, oh, I take the 100 grand, I'll buy this, I'll do this, I'll do that, that means you operate from a spending pattern. So that husband and wife, I'll define if they're using this budget or spending pattern, then I can start from there. Mm-hmm. And then the husband and wife, as they start to define that, I can see which one has the strength, the highest strength when it comes to that financial literacy, and know who's the, how can I put it, the strongest in that area. And then they can define whoever the strongest lead in that area, and then that other person, they can come along as you go. Mm-hmm. So it helps when the other person, it could be the husband, and in some cases, a lot of times it could be the wife that has the strongest strength.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it just goes back to the personalities and who is the stronger, with really keeping an eye on the finances and how to delegate the funds and resources that are available. What is, mm-hmm. and I'm not sure if you have this, what is the average age people are starting to retire right now? Are you seeing that the average age is no longer the 65, but now because people have not been used to budgeting and really embracing their financial side, that they're having to work longer?
I am seeing families and individuals work a little longer, mainly because they've put off putting money aside. And in my action model, one of the areas is investing. And when I define investing, because sometimes you say that word, people will kind of run away. But investing is taking current money and putting it away for future use. And so, sometimes you got to really kind of soften words. So a lot of families don't get the idea of taking current money and putting it away for future use. So over years, they don't have any money that they put away for future use. So they have to work longer. So you find a lot of people that are working, they're still working out there, and they're 60s and 70s still in a job. Mm-hmm. So it's hard because they have to continue to work a little longer. And all I could say is that you didn't know about it back then, but you know now. So do something now to put that money aside. So in the next 10 to 15 years, you may have to put away a little more, but it's better to have something than nothing at all. And then you can, maybe in 10 to 15 years, you can have something that you can nickel and dime off of for the remainder of your time. Mm-hmm. But if you have 50, 60 years of putting something away and you didn't, you got to really look at yourself and take it seriously now to put something aside.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned that you have your book. Is your book, tell us a little bit about the format. How can somebody leverage your writing and to help them? I know that you give them some nuggets and some teachings along the way, but when somebody's to purchase your book, what can they expect?
Well, the book is laid out, is a first part of a 3-part series. So this is volume 1. Volume 2 is predicted to come out in the first quarter of next year. And the first volume really pushes you to understand that there's a need for you to look at your finances, period. And so it goes back to my research in financial literacy, because I went to 3 different locations, and I sat down with families and talked individuals at the locations, and I talked to them about it. It looks at what we found, what I found in my research and my reading and talking to families, how I define the financial literacy, and at the end of what I'm trying to create, a financially literate person, so that person knows what they're looking for, how to look for it, and where to go to get the information that they need. So not only just to understand what they see, but where they need to go to get the information as well. So because you have to, one thing to know what you're looking at, but you got to know where you go get the information as well. And because if you don't know where to go, then you fall. And that's the main thing. So, and I don't, I have numbers, but there's not a lot of numbers in there. Because sometimes people run away when they think about numbers. And then to have this dollar tie, sometimes that kind of scares people. But money, all it is a resource. It's a tool that you use. Instead of running after it, you want to attract money to you. Not necessarily money, but the thoughts about creating it. And in the book, that's the purpose that I wanted to get across. You want to be able to attract the thoughts, the ideas, and the efforts to create the wealth that comes to you, not chasing after the dollar. So.
Absolutely. Now, you also have a weekly radio show. Tell us about your radio show. When does it air? How can somebody tune in? What is the style of your show? Do you have guests? Do you talk and educate?
Yes, the weekly broadcast is on Saturdays at 11 a.m. And it's on point. And I do have guests that show up. The guests come in, they're other entrepreneurs, and they have their own businesses, and they're getting their ideas out. And what I tend to do is whatever thoughts that they have to help for other entrepreneurs to get themselves better positioned in the industry, and they have ideas that help other business owners, to reach financial independence. I have them share their information as well. And I also share my thoughts on how to get yourselves out there. Like this week, I'm going to focus on how to focus in a distracted world. Right now, there's a lot of distractions, so we have to be at how you focus in the distracted. So each week, I build on a subject that's going to help you financially make yourself a little better. And I like to do that because there's so much negative nonsense out there. I like to focus on something that's a little positive for everyone. That's just me.
Where would somebody tune in to listen to you?
You can go to Facebook. If you go to Facebook, you can go to my author's page. It's Dr. Joseph Blake Jr. So you can go to the Facebook, Dr. Joseph Blake Jr. You can click on there and you can watch the videos there. You can friend me on that page, and then that way you'll be notified of each broadcast that comes out. I also have a what is that other page called? The Meetup. I'm on Meetup. You can sign up for Meetup as well, and that way you're notified of the different venues that come out as well. Twitter and LinkedIn also. So there are different venues that I have as well. So once you get to the page on Facebook or Meetup, you can sign up on my those pages, and then whenever we have broadcasts, you'll be notified when they're published.
Wonderful. And your book, what is the name of your book and how can we get a copy?
Okay, it's Joseph Building Financial Literacy. And you can go two places. You go to Amazon.com, you just type in Joseph Building Financial Literacy, and you get it an ebook, paperback, or hardback copy. And then you can get it on my website. If you go to www.blakemediallc.com and go to products page, and you can order my book. You get it from my website. On my website, you'll get a signed autographed copy. You go to Amazon, I have to sign it when I see you.
Dr. Joe Blake, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to share your expertise regarding financial literacy. For those of you that are just tuning in, I've had Dr. Joe Blake. He is the financial literacy expert helping youth to seniors, families, and individuals secure their financial future. Thank you again for being here today, Dr. Joe.
All right. Thank you for having me as well.